Bona tarda, buenas tardes, good afternoon. From the Barcelona Pavilion, we are very happy to host our reduced number of physical hosts here, and we are very happy to welcome all those who are following this event on streaming. This is the first event that we are carrying in the frame of the Barcelona Architecture Week, which has started today and will last until 16th May. And this is also the opening of this amazing project, the MIES Project, Architectural Portraits by the photographer Arina Dähnick. This exhibition will be hosted here in the Barcelona Pavilion for 1 month, and also at the neighbor building of Caixa Forum. So this is a joint project. We extremely appreciate the director of Caixa Forum, Luis Noguera, who cannot be with us today, but thanks to this MIES project, Architectural Portraits, we have been able to create a series of cooperation amongst institutions. As I said, together with Caixa Forum, so the exhibition can be visited starting in one of the buildings or the other, and then you continue the visit. So we have agreed some special agreements on the ticketing, of course, but also has been an opportunity to strengthen our cooperation with the rest of the institutions of the MIES heritage across Europe and also across the sea with the Chicago institutions. This exhibition has been traveling to the Tugendhat House, to the IIT in Chicago, the Crown Hall, and it's a very nice opportunity to be here and there, just visiting the amazing photographs. On my side, I only want to welcome you. I want you to enjoy the amazing conversation that in a few minutes we'll start with Arina Dähnick and Michelangelo Sabatini, with whom we are happy to collaborate today. And before that, I would like to introduce Mr. Patrick Heinz from the Generate Consulate of Germany in Barcelona. So thank you, everyone. Please, Patrick.
Dear Anna, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very relieved to see that this is in English. I had prepared my first speech in Spanish, and so it's going to be much easier for you and for me as well. So I just wanted to be very brief. I'm very happy that we as a Consulate General can be part of this wonderful project, especially in these difficult times. I think to be together here in presence and see each other, have the chance to talk to each other, and still using the technology, connecting to friends around the world and in Chicago, I think that somehow we're coming closer to the best of the world before COVID and the new world after. I wanted to thank everybody who participated in the preparation of this exhibition, and I'm very happy this Ms. Dähnick is here tonight, and I wish us all a wonderful evening. Thank you so much, and I'm very curious to see what's going on. Thank you.
Arina, if you want to sit over there. No, you sit there. So, muchas gracias, Anna. Dankeschön, Mr. Heinz. And we also want to thank the team at Caixa Forum, Barcelona, and the Mies van der Rohe team. And especially I want to thank Adriana Mas, who unfortunately she couldn't be here with us today. Also Eric Rusiñol, Clara Moreno, Ana Vez, Victor Sanchez for their help throughout the whole process during all these weeks, together with Arina, and obviously you, Arina, and also Michelangelo Sabatino, who is following us from Chicago and who will participate very, very soon with all of us. I also want to thank you all for being here in the Barcelona Pavilion. We're very happy that this is possible, that some of you are here, and that we can share this with you, but also online through the YouTube channel, all of those who are also going to follow the conversation tonight or today. And also remember that if you have any questions, you can use the chat on the YouTube channel. And I think we met with you, Arina, in summer 2018. You had just taken the photographs of the Barcelona Pavilion. You already had in mind, like Ana Ramos was saying, this possibility of having the exhibition in Chicago and Brno, in Barcelona, and later on also in Berlin, your hometown. And well, we worked since then to be able to present them here in Barcelona, and we worked with CaixaForum and the Barcelona Pavilion, these two extraordinary masterpieces. You were telling me yesterday about the shocking impact that it gave to you once again yesterday, visiting the building, which was originally built by Puig i Cadafalch in 1911, but which was also strongly transformed in the later on by Asarta, Luna, Brufau, and Isozaki in the 90s, and then the Barcelona Pavilion, originally from 1929 by Reich and Mies van der Rohe, and also a reconstruction where we are today, built by Solá Morales, Ramos, and Sirici in 1986. So, you're seeing some of the photos in the streaming of both exhibitions, and those of you who are lucky to be here, you're also seeing them in the space of the pavilion. And we decided, both teams, to use in CaixaForum one of their long walls next to the mural by Sol de Witt, which is called Splats, and next to the spatial environment, 51A1, the lamp by Lucio Fontana, to present 11 of the photos. No? So you're seeing them right now here on the screen. And then over here, remember that this pavilion has 8 columns. There used to be 8 columns, also ionic columns just in front of it, and there are 8 gray panels of glass opening up to the garden part over there. So we decided to use those 8 panels as the place to present, to set 8 photographs that had not been presented earlier, if I'm not wrong, in the previous exhibition. And 4 of them where there's the skylight, where there's the glass, which is white, translucent, which bring together the Barcelona Pavilion and the next exhibition, which is the Berlin Neue National Gallery, which has just been presented. No, the end of its restoration, transformation has just been finished now very recently by David Chipperfield and his team, and where the exhibition will go the Neue National Gallery. Exactly. So, well, these exhibitions are also presented together or combined with the publication that Arina Dähnick did of the project, which is called the MIES Project, and this is the book that was also published, and that, well, she has very kindly signed some of them, which, well, you can buy them here in the pavilion, but it's also really interesting to have a look at it as a way to have part of these portraits of Mies van der Rohe's work in Europe and the United States with all of you. So, let me present Arina. Okay, we'll start reading a description that I think is the best one that can describe your work by Doris Hansman, editor-in-chief of DCV Books. She says, Arina Dähnick is a photo artist active in the fields of fine arts and architecture who lives and works in Berlin. Having grown up in a creative family, she came into contact with art and photography at an early age. She had her first professional photo exhibition when only 17. By the way, I think we are allowed to get rid of this. I was getting a little bit kind of sweaty there, so sorry. When in 1986 you resolved not to have to live from your art, this sparked a long pause. But the presentation of your work at the Leica Camera Blog 2014 was followed by countless exhibitions as well as publications in newspapers and magazines. She made a name for herself inside and outside Germany and has gained a firm place in the international photography scene with her series Perfect Life, Contemporary Architecture, Barcelona, and the MIES Project. She follows her photographic intuition, and I'm sure you will be discussing these things with Michelangelo later. You select the angle, the distance, the light mood at different times of days and in different seasons, sets the aperture, exposure, and focus manually. She adds nothing to the result and consistently forgoes any post-processing that might manipulate the images. The key themes Arina Dähnick addresses in her pictures are city life and urbanity, reflection and the experience of space, the diametrical opposites of inside and outside, of blurry and acute clarity. Her extraordinary photographic eye penetrates the outer facades in the search for the poetic qualities and mysteries of urban space. With her cameras, she grasps the soul of the architecture, uses color and lines to create an intimate, sensory experience of the spatial setting. Interlocking image levels initiate a multifaceted game with reality and generate perspective that straddle outer reality and the imaginative inner eye. What we're going to do now is watch a video that they filmed in the Tugendhat house in Brno, where the exhibition was also presented and where we can start also hearing and listening to some of the aspects of her work.
Romano Guardini, 1927, Letters from Lake Como. I do not know where to find the words to express this miracle that is so full of light and that is as self-evident to us when we live in it as the air and the sun. It is an atmosphere in which everything is said, a rhythm soars over everything, a mode of being exists in which humanity thrives. Urbanitas. This word means strictly city living. A city atmosphere, yet one in which a nobly shaped humanity can flourish. Here, nature can pass over smoothly into culture.
I first really learned about Ludwig Mies van der Rohe in fall 2012 after passing by chance the Neue Nationalgalerie in Berlin following a thunderstorm. I felt a special sense of space, a spirit of boundless space, while at the same time a supporting warm presence of being held, paradoxical and magnificent at the same time. Taking photographs here was like being asked for a dance. I maintained my creative enthusiasm for the museum throughout the following years until the Neue Nationalgalerie closed its doors for restoration at the beginning of 2015. Then, in January 2015, I asked myself, could a similar sensation with the same photographic enthusiasm be repeated in other buildings designed by Ludwig Mies van der Rohe? In order to find out, I visited the Barcelona pavilion and encountered quite a different floor plan, a different function of the building, placed in a different city, even country. That was very exciting. Yet, I experienced the same creative inspiration, triggered by a virtually identical sensation of space. Mies buildings connect to the surroundings in a spiritual way, which makes them timeless. The Mies Project was born. Claire Zimmermann writes in her book about Mies van der Rohe, published by Taschenverlag 2015, about the great influence of the religious philosopher Romano Guardini on Mies' work. With great enthusiasm, I read Letters from Lake Como again and again during my work on the Mies Project. I was very impressed by the spiritual depths of his texts, his examination of man between nature and culture. Excerpts are now part of the film.
Romano Guardini, Letters from Lake Como. There are two ways to the essential, that of the unique and transitory, and that of the universal and enduring. And we cannot follow one way apart from the other. We find the essential in the unique only when we are also open to the manner in which it is present in the universal.
The photos of this project, exhibitions, book publications were taken in the last 8 years in Europe and the United States. I visited and photographed buildings constructed by Ludwig Mies van der Rohe after 1929. Neue Nationalgalerie Berlin, Barcelona Pavillon Barcelona, Seacrum Building New York City, Villa Tugendhat Brno Czech Republic, Haus Lemke Berlin. Concerning Chicago, which building to consider and what to leave out, was not so easy to decide. The guiding inspiration behind was finding different functions, different floor plans and locations. Most are what I refer to legacy buildings, instantly recognizable Mies work, such as 860-880 Lakeshore Drive Apartments, 900-910 Esplanade Apartments, SR Crown Hall, IIT Campus, IBM Building, Federal Center, Farnsworth House, Plano. As a photographer, I take an avid interest in modern urban life. The complexity and variety in today's modern age inspires me and presents me with new creative challenges every day. When I started in 2009, I was looking for a new modern photographic language by using the latest technology and, at the same time, working with the traditional rangefinder camera, the Leica M system. Thus staying as true as possible to reality, as many well-known legendary photographers did before. This instrument allows a great deal of flexibility to find the right picture section, the optimal picture detail. I follow my photographic intuition, select the angle and distance, the light mood at different times of day and in different seasons, set aperture, exposure and focus manually. The point of focus has to match the picture idea. I add nothing to the result and consistently foregoing any post-processing that might manipulate the images. The final image is shown how I captured it in. I reject any kind of manipulation or staging that goes beyond simple photo development. To work with the rangefinder camera, which is all manual, takes time. The time needed for working with the camera makes an impact on how I work. It deepens not only the progress itself, but also the statement of the image. In the past, the question was how to obtain information. Nowadays, the proper structuring of information is what is needed. Reflections and abstractions convey this idea through a variety of levels of perception. The structure and the order offered to me is achieved through the composition of the photo. It was Ludwig Mies van der Rohe's work which opened up the entire field of architecture for me, and one day I decided to stay there. I do not capture my subjects holistically or perfectly. Architectural portraits are intimate gaze, prioritizing the relationship of the detail of a building with its surrounding, the interaction between construction details, lighting and weather conditions. If a bird comes by, it is welcome. People working, living or just passing by might be part of the scenery or not. It depends. I happened to visit Haus Tugendhat the very first time under special conditions. The lighting situation was very unusual for photographing. It was noon in June, bright sunshine in the sky. Although the sun was high, inside the light was sort of cold, blue, only little shadows fell in. Right away I found that the contrast was perfect. The wrong light became the right light. It was with great interest and enthusiasm that I read Grete Tugendhat's speech. In it she quotes Mies, who spoke to her and Fritz Tugendhat about his way of constructing a house during the planning phase. You can never calculate the ideal dimensions of a room. You must feel a room when you stand in it and move in it. In an essay about architect and building contractor, she speaks about a basic feeling of existence, which client and architect should have in common. I love this word so much that I would like to leave it just as simple. Every building is different based on its function, the customers or residents, and of course the surrounding situation. In Brno, the second largest city of the Czech Republic, I found this aspect to be very important. The Haus Tugendhat is a building which I consider as being more protected than any other building by Mies I have visited so far. But as you enter the building after passing the gate, the whole atmosphere changes into a mental calmness, into a special generosity. The people who work there are very friendly and open-minded. I traveled back to Berlin with the following question on my mind. What makes this building so different from other Mies van der Rohe buildings I have visited so far? The answer was provided by a documentary film about Haus Tugendhat produced by Dieter Reifhardt and his crew. Fritz and Greta Tugendhat awarded the contract to Mies van der Rohe in 1928 to design and implement their new home, the Haus Tugendhat. At this time, the Jewish people were respected. I assume the Villa Tugendhat was respected, but it was not welcome at the time it was built, and even less during the Nazi era. The exterior was literally external. Inside it was completely different. In the history of the Villa Tugendhat, I found brave people, open to new ideas, life, but also the need for protection. While taking photos, I wasn't aware of this background. On the first day of my visit, a little girl was cycling along the fence of the Villa Tugendhat, joined by birds in the sky. This photo shows the innocence, the children who lived there a long time ago.
So, Arina, we know much more about the way you work after seeing this video, but now at lunch you were also telling me about how important it is for you to meet people in cities when you travel and so on. We want to know, you always go with your camera on, you're always carrying it, careful there, but not the other devices. So, no problem at all. And also one of these persons that we will meet just after I make you this question will be Michelangelo, no? And we would like to also know how you met with him and so on. But please tell us a little bit more about you, about your work.
Yeah, thank you, Ivan. Thank you, Anna, for the wonderful invitation to the Barcelona pavilion. It is very touching for me to be here. So this legendary building by me, designed by me, and to have the possibility, the opportunity, the invitation to show my photographic project the MIES project. It means so much. Thank you. And yeah, and it is also like Ivan said, I came here so many times. I think it was 5 times I came here throughout different seasons and weather conditions. I think the only thing I have not experienced was winter and snow. And yeah, and actually I need this because I don't, as I said in the film, I don't manipulate or look for a setting or change a setting. So I really depend on the moment and the condition I find. And sometimes I think it is just beautiful, but the photo doesn't work. Yeah? So I go there and I come back with nothing. So, and this is really bad if you travel to a city for photographing. Yeah? That is not easy to stand, but that's the way I do it. And therefore I have to come back many times. And what I also really like to be kind of incognito, yeah. And I know when I came to Anna first and to Ivan, and he said, "Oh well, you should have asked before for these photos." Yeah, we were lucky to manage it later. Thank you for this also. And this project is also combined. I enjoyed very much the words Anna you spoke about the network, the MIES networking, yeah. And I got so much support for this project, and so many wonderful stories are around this from people who said, okay, we really love what you are doing and we help you. And that means first to get the permission to photograph buildings. And for example, you see the museum, I looked it up, the Haus Tüdentat, it is a museum, and I thought it is open from 10 to 6, and I thought, well, that is great. I just have to go there, yeah. But some people maybe know you need a ticket, and to get a ticket needs 3 months ahead to ask for. And so I went there, I booked the travel for photographing this building, and I was not allowed to go, not even to go inside of it. And yeah, and I was so frustrated. And one day, I had my travel stay was last 4 days, and I came there, and there was that guy Adam, if you see this, warm hello. And I talked to him the whole story of the project, and he just said nothing, and he said, I take you inside. And I met the public relations chief, that is Piotr, and he brought me to the director, Ivana Cherna, and he said, you have 5 minutes to explain her the project. Okay, 5 minutes. And at the end it worked out fine. And he said, you should have told us before and just go with the tour to have an overview. And then it happened what sometimes happens. Sometimes you come to, well, I know there are some photographers as well, and probably you know this from your experiences. You come there, and I was not, at that day, I really wanted to get in touch. I was not prepared for doing my project. But I came to the tour, and I saw her. The light is perfect. That is my light. That is what I'm looking for. And I was inspired. And this is kind of digital. It is yes or no. I'm inspired or not. I can't really do something with myself to feel differently. And I started photographing it. And it was wonderful. And I followed the tour, listening to them, and got some information this way, and did the main photos. Sometimes I come and I think, okay, I have to have this condition that is important for the project, and it is not so special. And sometimes I'm really surprised by the situation and by my camera. So my camera and me, this is really important. We really have a deep relationship, the two of us. And I learn by my camera as well. I look through it and I see photos I haven't seen before. This is a rangefinder camera. I don't know if you know this system. It was established in the 20s by Leica first, and so you don't, okay, nowadays you can have also this live view, but I don't use it. You really have it, you look through it and have a very special way seeing the scenery and that. And then you do everything manual, as I said in the film, and that takes time, and you have to take decisions about aperture, time, focus, ISO, and this has to be at the end fit all together. And as you know, I work with a lot of reflections. This is kind of my handwriting. I like different levels of perceptions very much. And that is important. Which information do I want to show and which do I want to leave out? And this is really a technical thing at the end. But the photo first always starts with an intuition and a feeling. Yeah, and I remember being at the Neue Nationalgalerie the first time, which was also part of the film. And it was really that I didn't photograph first. So in Barcelona there are so many legends buildings by the modernism, by Gaudi for example, and once I went to Park Güell and I saw people photographing even without looking. So they were photographing, not even watching. Yeah? They photographed before they looked at it. Okay. So I'm just the opposite. It takes time until I decide to take a photo or not. And first it is my feeling towards it. And that is needed to be creatively invited, as I like to say for dance. I love to say this because the dance means the two of us. It is not only me, it is not only the scenery. We go into interaction and we create later something totally new. Yeah, I think that's fine. One thing, please. Yeah. So I have to say this, and because Barcelona means in many dimensions so much to me. And it was here that I really shaped my style, my handwriting, my photographic, by photographing the modern contemporary architecture of Barcelona. And the lines, the color. When I arrived, just a few days ago, I saw the sky and I thought, this is the Barcelona sky. And I want to really thank you for this from the bottom of my heart. And I hope I can give you something back with my images. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Arina. I think it was Salgado who once said that those photographs that people take without watching or looking at that's not photography directly. But that would be for another interesting conversation on what photography can be considered and what not. I also want to welcome Michelangelo Sabatino from Chicago. And while he connects, I will present him. Michelangelo trained as an architect, preservationist, and historian. As an educator, academic administrator, and award-winning scholar, Sabatino has shaped architectural discourse and practice in the Americas and beyond. Between 2017 and 2019, he served as interim dean for the College of Architecture of IIT and held the Rohe Family Endowed Dean Chair. He currently directs the PhD program in architecture and is the inaugural John Vinci's Distinguished Research Fellow. Sabatino lectures widely about modern and contemporary architecture, participates in juries, and has served on a number of editorial and not-for-profit organization boards in Europe and the Americas, ranging from the Society of Architectural Historians to Docomomo International and Docomomo US. Throughout his career, Sabatino has focused new light on larger patterns of design discourse and production during the 19th and 20th centuries. His book, Pride and Modesty, Modernist Architecture in the Vernacular Tradition in Italy, was translated into Italian and won critical acclaim and multiple awards, including the Society of Architectural Historians Alice Davis Hitchcock Award. His most recent books include Making Houston Modern, The Life and Architecture of Howard Barnstone, with Barry Scardino Bradley and Stephen Fox, and Modern in the Middle, Chicago Houses, 1929-1975, in this case with Susan Benjamin. Forthcoming books also include Carlo Molino, Architect and Storyteller, with Napoleone Ferrari, and The Global Turn, 6 Journeys of Architecture in the City, 1945-1989, with Toma Vermaete. Thank you very much, Michelangelo. We see where you work and we also envy you. We're also in a great place ourselves here in Barcelona. And it's wonderful that you can now have this conversation. And maybe I would ask you, Arina, directly how you met. What was your first experience with Martino or the other way around?
Yeah. So we met first in 2017. Chicago, as was said in the film, was the last station of the MIES project. And again, Barcelona, Luis, I'm so happy that you are here. He had an exhibition in Chicago, and I asked him, I think it could be a nice idea to follow you. And that was how I came to Chicago, and with a friend and the vernissage at the Leica Gallery, which was very warm. And I wrote before to several houses directors asked for the permission to photograph my MIES project. And Michelangelo not only said, yeah, welcome to photograph, but also I want to get to know you. And I will never forget our first 3 sentences. And is it okay if I repeat it?
It is.
Okay. Yeah, he said, I said, okay, hello Michelangelo, I like to say, to be honest from the very first moment. I said, I'm not an architect. And he said, that doesn't matter. And I said, I'm not even a photographer for architecture. And he said, even better. And I said, I'm an artist. And Michelangelo, you said, very welcome. And that was the start of a wonderful partnership and friendship, let me say it this way. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Arina. So, greetings from Chicago. And of course, thank you, Anna, Ivan, for hosting this wonderful event. And I'm sorry I can't be here, but as you see, I have a view of Crown Hall with many reflections and shadows, which is the overarching theme of our friend Arina's work. So I'm happy to jump in. Arina and I have a little bit of a scripted interview, but I know she doesn't like scripted interviews too much. So I'm being the academic, sort of reining her in. If nothing else, just I think it'd be useful, for the audience who is less aware of her work, and that we might convince to come to Barcelona or purchase the book. I think I just want to cover a couple of, of the issues. So Arina, if you want to start, I'm happy to sort of go back ping-ponging across the Atlantic.
Very good idea. And just to explain the setting, Michelangelo and I decided before that we don't do an interview in a different style, but because of our relationship and long partnership, we like to have a dialogue, and we are really interested into each other. And my first question is, Michelangelo, is a very simple one. What got you started being interested in my photography?
Well, I think you've already had our story of you walking into Crown Hall, but I was fascinated by the fact that you arrived to photography of architecture with a background in art and psychology. We have seen numerous approaches, especially from the 50s to the 70s and 80s, where MIES buildings have been photographed by professional photographers from inside architecture and design. And I think, though, there's so many, as your work demonstrates, there's unexpected opportunities to learn about buildings. And I continue, frankly, to be fascinated by the fact that MIES, I would argue more than most modern and contemporary architects, has continued to attract artists using different media to read and reread the work. And the work, the programming at the Barcelona Pavilion is a testament to that. How about I ask you a question now? So, and since I know you very well, but so this is mostly for the benefit of the audience who knows your work less. So your work combines different styles, techniques, and genres. Maybe you can explain who are your artistic role models, what photographers inspire you, and in what way?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I really love to get into what photographers did in the 20s and in the 30s. So the first Leica 35mm camera was built in 1925. No, it's 26. And at that time, so much happened in the art scenery, and people liked to experience and to express themselves in a new way. And what they did is so playful and I like to see them. And let me mention 3 idols I have got. There's first that legendary Henri Cartier-Bresson, and what I learned from him is to be prepared for the moment. Not to wait for it, but to be prepared when it comes. And the second one is Ilse Bing. Actually, I have a camera. My husband gave me one from the 32, like original Leica camera. I went through Barcelona with it, black and white, all manual. Yeah, it is exciting to work with this as well. And Ilse Bing, she is a German lady, and she decided to go for her dream, being a photographer, a professional photographer, and she went to Paris, like many others did at these days. And she was she liked to experiment so much. And you probably know the self-portrait she did from herself, and it is in the mirrors, it is with reflections. I love it. It is so focused, concentrated. It is so honest and female at the same time. Yeah, my grandma was one of the first female art students in these days, so perhaps that is also a line for me. And the third one is Henri Cartier-André, sorry, a little bit excited, André Cartes, of course. And what I like, he is probably the one who has got the most influence on me, because he is on the ceiling between reality and imagination. He trusts so much his vision and his way viewing reality. And I will always remember the exhibition, the big exhibition in Berlin, and Martin Gropius Bau, and that did something with me.
Great, thank you, Arina. So I think it's the ping pong is back in your court. Do you want me to ask the question and we can, the next one, or there was around the photo that I used of your Farnsworth house. Do you recall in my book?
Let me ask you, Michelangelo, and continue. It is kind of second part of the first question. I know that you, for your recent book, Modern, Ivan mentioned it, Modern in the Middle, Chicago Houses from 1925 to 1975, which is available in the shop, by the way. And you choose one photo of mine, just one big size. I love it, and the way you placed it. But why this one?
Right. So I think, and Ivan and Anna, maybe you're going to give us data, but I would imagine that together with the Barcelona Pavilion, the Farnsworth House is one of the most photographed buildings in the world. But I don't know if we have data for that. But just to go back to the book, our book treated well-known and lesser-known Chicagoland houses. And what I was most fascinated about your photo of the Farnsworth taken from outside is the way you captured the beautiful reflections of the surrounding trees. Like, all too often, the Farnsworth house appears like static instead of dynamic in photographs. Say, for example, Sugimoto's blurry images, but most of the time it's fixed in time. You bring, through your photos of the reflections and the shadows, the living dimension of the house and, most importantly, the landscape. And so that's why I thought I would start circulating your images in publications and to sort of add to the thousands of images that are already existing. But you add an important note of quality. So, okay, so I have a question for you. And I know that I don't want you to choose between your favorite children, because it's always a difficult task. But instead of saying what is your favorite buildings of MIES, I'm going to ask you what your favorite experiences of different MIES buildings, and perhaps even including the ones in which you have shown your exhibitions. I mean, we had a great, wonderful transformation of Crown Hall here, which was a remarkable event. So perhaps you can speak to some of your favorite experiences.
Yeah, so thank you for the question. Interesting question. Visiting different buildings, one can think oh, they might be all different, they have different functions, different floor plans, different cultures, different cities, so the experience might be very different. But at the end, I thought about it today, at the end, it was in a way similar. And the thing which surprised me mostly is that, you know, like we had it in the film, and I already said it, I feel when I come to a place, a building, I have that feeling first. And what impressed me so much was that others have the same feeling, yeah? So MIES has got a big, very unique impact on people. And it is kind of timeless. Isn't that exciting? And I'm very much looking forward to one of my next projects, which is about how people design Miesian places, how they live with this, what I said. And it happened first that the residents of the 910 Lakeshore Drive apartments invited me to photograph their apartments. And now we will have a project about this, and Dirk Lohn's apartment will be also part of it, looking forward. And the Crown Hall, there is different function, different setting. There are no residents, there are students. And I love to ask people working or just being there, how is your life in this building? And I asked one student at Crown Hall, and he said to me, you know, we are always taught, you have to keep in mind, if you design a building, there will be spring, summer, fall, and winter, and it has to fit for every season. And he said, in this building, Crown Hall, it is not a theory, it is an experience every day. We don't forget, because we live in this.
Excellent. And in fact, if you look at the image, which is my screensaver, I'm actually on IIT campus right now, but I can't really occupy all of Crown Hall. It's a little bit too much. But as you see from the clerestory windows, it's ablaze with fall colors of the honey locust trees that Alfred Caldwell planted. So great. And so, you know, we had talked about, you know, your interest in reflections and shadows, right? And I wrote about that, and I wanted to quote
I
Mies.
think it's me asking you, right?
Oh, okay. No, sorry, right. Go ahead.
And my question is to tell the audience, Michelangelo wrote a wonderful essay in the book, which is published about the MIES project, and it has got a pre-word by Dirk Lohn, which I'm really grateful to have. And the essay Michelangelo wrote is really interesting in detail. And there's one thing, he quotes Mies when he says he distinguish between shadow and reflection. And that is very interesting. I would like you to elaborate on this and how you see this aspect in my photography.
Right. So to quote Mies, he said, as early as 1922, which is important here, so it predates the Barcelona, predates Crown. He says, in his 2 glass skyscrapers of 1922, he says, I discovered by working with actual glass models that the important thing is the play of reflections and not the effect of light and shadow as in ordinary buildings. And you all are there, so let's see if Mies's words are resonant. You will capture the reflections on the water. You will capture the reflections on the glass. So even, you know, if Arina wasn't showing you her photographs, you could observe that what we're saying is not, out of place. And for me, what's so important is that the way your photographs show relationships between buildings and their surroundings. Now, we all know that at least here in Chicago in the 70s, there was plenty of Mies haters. It's now hard to imagine that there was a generation of architects that grew up being very antagonistic to Mies because of the bad copies that some of his students had done, and none of the subtle beautiful dimensions that Arina has captured. So for me, just to summarize, I love the fact that you capture, of course, in the tradition, Henri Cartier-Bresson's decisive moment, unexpected moments, which reflections reveal. They're about specific times in the day, specific times in the season. So these buildings appear, as the student you mentioned in Crown Hall, to live and change through the seasons. And so for the critics that said that Mies's work was, the same everywhere in every city, the so-called banal interpretation of the international style, well, we know that that's not the case. So now I have a question for you. Just maybe if you can, there's a technical term that I referred to in the essay called specular reflections, right? That is the technical term when shadows need a surface, a smooth surface, whether it's hard glass or the surface of a pool that you have several too in the Barcelona Pavilion. So maybe you can explain, because you also have shadows in your work. So what is, for you, the difference between reflections and shadows?
Wonderful question, an artistic question. And as for me, first there's again something which they have in common. They both are children of light. And,
well put.
And I'm really flash triggered by any quality of light that makes me being awake, and I start being creative. So that is what they have in common, and what is to distinguish between them is there's one more thing they have in common. They invite me to the other dimension. So they are really a play between reality and a different reality, more an imagination, an inside reality. And this way I really like following them. And the difference is kind of a technical one. I really like the shape, the bright sunlight for reflections, because that makes it clear and obvious what I'm photographing, viewing. It is hard to photograph a reflection if the sky is clouded. Yeah, so I need this sky, and you can see it in my photographs. It is different to photograph shadows. It is very nice to have them smooth, to have them moving. So we have that one photo of Crown Hall, and you mentioned the trees outside, and as I know, Mies decided the distance between the tree and the glass facade. And now you have this dance of the shadows from the trees, and that is so wonderful, and I wouldn't like to have this sharp. It is very beautiful the way it is.
Great, thank you. Now I think you have a question coming up on your end. So ping pong back.
One last question. Yeah. Oh yes, that is important. In your essay, you have this aspect of you have a very careful and deep observation on my work, and you wrote about the expressionistic part of it. And I would like to have you, if you would like to elaborate on this.
Great. So if we think of painters like Emil Nolde or Kokoschka, they shape form with layers of color. You can look at any of their portraits and see how they reveal surface qualities, both real and imagined, to go back to your point, that are not immediately visible. So in this sense, your work tends to straddle expressionism and, to a much lesser extent, Neue Sachlichkeit. So it was precisely, thinking of these parallels and your interest in expressionism that, I came up, and I think you liked it, the idea of architectural portraits to describe the work. So Mies buildings are the subjects, of your portraits, and you reveal their unique personalities thanks to also the help of light, as you mentioned. So, to a certain degree, I think you're also doing this with your ongoing projects about living with Mies and Zaha. So I think that's basically it. So you're an expressionist photographer living in the 21st century. How's that? In any case, so okay, Arina, I know that our audience is so anxious to go and hug you. Let's end maybe with one last question about you and the future, because an exhibition, in a way, is a closing up of one chapter and there's opening up of many others. So, how do you plan on taking all of what you have learned in the MIES project with your new projects moving on forward? So, what do we have to look forward to in the next couple of years from Arina Dähnick, in short?
Yes, wow. There are two parts of your question, Michelangelo, and I think I would like to answer the first one first. So as you know, I've worked for such a long time on this project, and I know we talked about it often. What impact has Mies got on you? Yeah, what happens? Because I change as a photographer, working on my projects, of course, as well. And what I learned by Mies is a line can make a difference. And so my composition is sharpened by him, just to say one thing. And I will take this aspect to all my following projects. As you mentioned, exploring Zaha Hadid. I'm really interested in following the next architect, legendary architect, and she is a master of form and moving form and dynamic, and I already started with this, and it was interrupted, you know why, and I don't get into this too much. We all hope we can come out of this situation healthy and alive again, waiting, looking for new projects. And Michelangelo, we have one big thing in Chicago, and I think we should not give up. It is a pavilion, and we are here in a pavilion. It is about pavilions in the world, and we have David Wallace, who might watch us now as well, building a new pavilion at close to Farnsworth House, and I was asked to be the photographer of this. And you, I know you write article more than an essay about this pavilions in the world and the architecture history of it. I think we should stick on this, although we have to look for money, but they all have to look for money. That is not a difference. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Arina, and I would be toasting to all of you if I were there, but let's hope that COVID evaporates and that moving forward we can continue these beautiful transatlantic collaborations. Ivan, Anna, and Arina, I wish you all the best, and I will stop talking and hand over the mic and the Zoom to all of you.
Thank you very much, Michelangelo. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you, Arina, as well. But we might also have some questions from the audience here, and there's two of them from YouTube. So I will start with the ones while we see if there's any over here in the audience. David Caral has two questions. One of them says that there seems to be no people in your photographs. Is this intentional to reach the maximum abstraction in your photography? Did you ever consider having people in the photos? And, well, let's start with that one.
Interesting question. So we have this beautiful poster, and this is one of the few photos with someone in it. And I can answer this question very, very good by viewing this photo. You can see this lady moving out of the scenery. And the sharpness, as I said, I have that one point of sharpness I like to decide sharpness, and I decided for the furniture in front, and she's moving, she's kind of vanishing. So people have to be part of a scenery, of an imagination scenery. I'm not so much looking and portraying them as a street play or as a street photographer in real, yeah? I like to have them in a way part of a composition. But very often, I'm not really looking in portraying people. That was different when I started with photography. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it changed.
If I come to your aim here, because she and I have talked about this, and that's why these photos are called portraits, that you would normally assign to photographs of people.
That's
and my theory is there's plenty of people in these photos, but those people are Arina. And Arina is, she is the person that's bringing her empathy and her gaze to bear on these buildings. So while you may not see conventional people standing, whether it's for scale purposes or experiences space, we feel, I think, Arina as a human being through these pictures. And that's where I think empathy and the psychology of her own background sort of inform the framing of this work.
Thank you, Michelangelo. And also David Caral asks about light and artificial light. Most of the photographs, or all your photographs, are taken during daytime. Right. And what do you think, or what are your experiences in buildings with artificial light when it's nighttime?
Right. So yeah, I was lucky that this recent model, Leica M10, was developed while I was photographing this project, because it has this high-rise ISO. I can really go with this, with difficult lighting situations, with this camera not using any flash or any artificial light. Actually, the answer is mostly, again, a very personal one. I'm not so attracted by artificial light. Yeah. That's the reason why I don't photograph it so often. I did it at the Seagram building, and that photo was shown in Haus Tugendhat. Yeah, I think that is only one photo. Very, very good observation, yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. I have an idea for a project which is about artificial light, because I'm interested in the light, the artificial light they are using for Baustellen. What is the English word, Baustellen? Construction places, yeah, which is really strong, hard light and hard shadows, and I love that. Let's see what comes out of it.
Are there any questions from the audience before we then invite you to also continue and see the exhibition with the 11 photos that we have in Caixa Forum just across the street? Any questions from the audience here? There's one over there.
Thank you for sharing your work. And I would like to ask, do you look at other photographies of these iconic buildings, or do you try to avoid them so so to have a unique experience of them?
Actually, I try to avoid, besides the ones who show, who are more historical ones. They are very interesting, how it was before, but I'm not so much interested in the interpretation of other artists. Now I am more, because I have this finalized.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? There's one over there. In the meantime, we want to thank all those people that are following us from Stuttgart, from Sweden, from Italy, and who are following and saying hello and thank you for all your...
Hello, Arina. Hello. I will ask you about the idea of when you think on your project, if you think also on doing a book in parallel, and when you think on this book, if you think the graphic design, so the page and how to edit these photos would be different from the exhibition.
Juana, that I did get you right. You are asking about the design, the process of designing the book.
So editing the book. So when you decide how to exhibit, which photos to exhibit,
very interesting question.
Or it would be the same as the book, the photo chosen for the book.
Right. Yes. So all the images you see here are also part of the book, which is what is also very interesting is. What happens with photos if they are in the world? So then they belong not any longer to me, then they are they are interacting with people. And I find it very interesting that some, even nations or cultures, prefer this ones or this one, that ones. And the style is different, what people like. That is very interesting to see. And as Michelangelo says, the expressionistic, the personal attitude towards it, people react personal on my photographs as well. So I felt personal when I take them, and people react on it. And that is in a personal way, and that is very interesting. And that was part of the editing, which choose, which leave out, and it had to be a mixture which fits to all places. And there are some not shown I really like, but I'm not the only one to have to decide. I was not asked. Yes.
Thank you very much. Remember that we can visit the exhibition here in the Barcelona Pavilion and in Caixa Forum until June the 6th, that in Barcelona museums have always been open, luckily. We are very lucky with that, so we invite you all from all over the world to come to the city, to Barcelona, enjoy these exhibitions, and then obviously enjoy the rest of the city, which is also pretty nice. Two things, okay.
Okay, just two things. One is that I decide that when we walk the exhibition, we talked about some photos more in detail, and I would like to show you, for example, the photo of the book from Michelangelo, that you know what we were talking about before, and you can have your own impression. And that is the one thing. And the other thing is, as Ivan said, the Neue Nationalgalerie in Berlin was just finalized, and David Chipperfield did the preview. You probably or perhaps saw it on YouTube and Facebook and whatever. Yeah, and we will have the MIES project will move after Barcelona to Berlin, and if you don't have enough of these photos, feel welcome.
Thank you to the streaming team. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Arina and Michelangelo. Good evening.
Thank you.